מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בינות שירביצני ימי מנוחות ינחלני. נפשי שובב, ינחני ומגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסד ירדיפוני כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. I've chanted for you the words of our 23rd Psalm. In our deepest moments of grief, we turn to the psalmist, seeking words that may bring us strength or some small degree of comfort. And so I ask you to join me as we recite these words together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. And when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember Eric Leiser. To Meg and Maurice, to his grandmother Jan, his sister Teresa, also to Gina, and to his love, his girlfriend Alyssa, to all the members of the family, and to so many cherished and dear friends. We gather today in great sadness and with a tremendous amount of shock. But still we have come together to remember and also to find the strength to celebrate the life of your beloved Eric. The poet writes, Ma avarech lo, bameh yivarach. How shall I bless him? With what shall this child be blessed? O God, you blessed him with a smile that is like light. You blessed him with eyes large and wide, with which to see every flower, animal, and bird. You blessed him with a heart with which to feel all the sights. You blessed him with legs to dance forever, and with a soul to remember all the melodies. You blessed him with ears, attentive to old and young. You blessed him with arms to embrace everyone he loved. You blessed him with wisdom and strength, and you blessed him with lips to speak words of kindness and inspiration. You blessed him with a song and a smile. You blessed him with gentle hands and a loving heart. Elohim, Elohim, Luach Erachtalo Chaim Arukim. God, oh God, if only you had blessed him with long life. Eric entered into this world on October 7th, 1983, and in his 34 years, he touched more lives and was a blessing to more people than most humans could do if they were granted 100 years. Meg and Maurice, no parents could have loved and given more of themselves to any child, and no son could have loved and appreciated parents, as did Eric. And to Meg and Maurice, and also to his grandmother Jan, today there are no words. There are no explanations and no adequate words that can be offered when the order of nature has been reversed. I know that everyone here joins me as we pray that you feel the love and support that surrounds you and your entire family on this saddest of days. Eric was described to me by his parents as a toddler who was possessed, and I'm quoting them, with a great deal of energy and a lack of cooperation. As a little boy, Eric was the happiest and the brightest little man. Meg, you had him reading at 18 months old. Eric was also the most active and mischievous toddler. Maurice, there was the one time when you were with your little boy in the kitchen and a delivery came to the front door. In the time it took you to walk to the door and get the package and walk back to the kitchen, your toddler had managed to climb on top of the refrigerator and was eating out of the cookie jar. And your son, whether in his childhood or his adult years, your son was always of high energy and a person who was always extremely positive and one who was known to be kind-hearted. You never heard Eric say an unkind word about anyone except for certain politicians. And you described your boy as someone who was never timid and always sure of himself. He was, as you said, cocky in a lovable kind of way. He was confident and smart and well-read, truly a Renaissance man who knew his stuff. At 6 years old, Eric began playing hockey, and his dad said it was either hockey or reform school. Meg, you said of your little boy that he was such a joy. From the moment he entered into your world, you felt as if your life was complete. Your little Eric grew to be the biggest kid in Solomon Schechter's 7th grade class. And I suspect he may have been the smartest as well. He drove you nuts as he would never do a lick of homework. But he was so bright and just so very smart. And Meg, you and Eric, you described, were similar in so many ways. And because of this, you sometimes butted heads. But in these last few years, he seemed to have mellowed. He became gentler with you. Every Sunday night was family night. And in recent years, he included Alyssa, his love for family night. And you said that your son was just a good kid, that everybody loved him. His personality filled any room he walked into. And I know Eric filled your heart, Meg. Jan, you recall a grandson who was a darling boy, and you said that he grew into a sweet, gentle, and kind teenager. And as an adult, he never let you forget how much he cared about you. He loved talking with you, whether in person or on the phone. He always seemed to be so interested in you and what you were doing. He just loved spending time with you, and you remarked that he loved life. And his aunts described a nephew who also they saw as a caring and loving individual. And Teresa, when I asked you about your brother, you came up with one word: fearless. He was fearless in everything he did. Every project he took on, he was into everything, 100%. And everything he did well. Whether it was the sword fighting, or seeing him on the ice, whether as a hockey player or, simply put, as a skater, he was, as you said, elegant and incredible. You said he was a talented and graceful snowboarder. He loved board games. He loved all games, and I suspect he was quite competitive. He loved his frisbee golf and Magic the Gathering, and while he could tease you, as big brothers do, you know that he loved you so very much. And Alyssa, you and Eric, you found each other and you found your way, and he may have been the most wonderful and unexpected person to come into your life. Over the years, your paths would cross. You had your circle of friends that overlapped. And what you came to understand is Eric had his eye on you all along. Although he wasn't really a quiet guy in life, when it came to you, he quietly and patiently waited. It's as if he knew what you needed, and he knew that he would be the one to bring joy and love into your world. And so this friendship blossomed, and it blossomed into love, and over the past 3 years, you and Eric were an amazing team. It's your home, your place where everyone gathered, a place where everyone knew they were welcome. And you saw Eric as the one who was always supportive of every friend. He was the one cheering on all of his pals, and he was the one always cheering you on. You shared a love of going out together, having fun with your friends. You shared a love of your cabin vacations in Hocking Hills. And of course, the love of your sweet little one, Floki, the Viking corgi. Simply put, you and Eric were just good together. And the two of you could communicate so well. And you shared a most special friendship and a most beautiful love. His high school years were spent at Cleveland Heights High. And here he made so many great friends, and I know so many of you are here today. He made great friends. He played varsity hockey in his senior year, and he got involved with stage crew, which, according to his best buddy Joe, was perfect for Eric, as he loved to use his creative energies to build things and then to destroy them and tear them down. And Joe so eloquently described his best buddy as the alpha nerd, or the cool nerd. Following his high school graduation, Eric matriculated at Cleveland State University, where he studied film and digital media, and he worked as a freelance photographer and cinematographer, and he also found ways to give back to his community as he spent time coaching Jewish teens who were preparing to travel to Israel. Eric would meet with these students. He'd instruct them on various photographic techniques, knowing that they would be taking their cameras to Israel to capture amazing and beautiful moments. He did this and enjoyed it and found it so very rewarding. He involved himself with wedding videos and photo shoots and so many music videos, and videotaped Lollapalooza concerts for years and worked for Samsung. But one of Eric's most precious gems related to his work was the film Long Way to the Top, a documentary on the music industry. Eric was both the producer and the director of photography on this project, which was shown at the Cleveland International Film Festival. It's hard to measure the success of any one life. But there's a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson that describes perhaps one way to measure the success of a life. No matter how long we are granted, Emerson describes success in this way: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden path, or a redeemed social condition, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you lived. This is to have succeeded. I know that Eric was a groomsman and oftentimes the best man in dozens of weddings. And as I listened to his family and his friends share stories about Eric yesterday, I came to realize that this idea of him being the best man, well, this was Eric. It seems whether you were his family or his friend, and I think if you were his family, you were his friend. And if he was your friend, then you were family. But it seems for all who knew Eric, he was, for everyone, the best man. Our tradition teaches us that words which come from our heart enter directly to the heart. There are 3 who wish to come forward today to express feelings in their heart, and I'd first like to call on his dad, Maurice.
So what would Eric do? He would look at all of these familiar faces and he would say, "Why so sad?" Go to my mom and dad's house and start drinking. And that was Eric Leiser. That was Eric Leiser like we all knew him. Happy, positive, upbeat, always looking to get a smile out of anybody that he would come across. And he gave us a lot of smiles. As a son, I couldn't have asked for a more challenging and exciting child to bring up. He was always teaching me. Sincere and warm-hearted and good-natured, and yet had a little bit of that mischievous streak in him that we all knew. He had kid knew how to get in trouble when he wanted to. The good news was he knew how to get himself out. When you think of him today and tomorrow and over the coming days and months, don't be sad that he's no longer with us, because he will always be with us. You'll never forget him. He was a positive guy, and he always wanted to get a smile out of you. So smile for him.
I'd like to call on Eric's sister, Teresa.
I wrote it all down so that I wouldn't forget. It would be impossible for me to stand here and try to summarize Eric's 34 years. I could tell you every story I have about Eric, but it would never even begin to represent him. Eric was nearly 7 years old when I was born, and unlike almost every older sibling in the world, he was never jealous or upset by my presence. He knew that my arrival meant less eyes on him, and therefore more opportunity for mischief. An abundance of energy turned him into an incredibly graceful ice skater, and I know you think that I'm being facetious, but I'm not. He was a big man, but he was the most graceful person as long as you took him off his feet and put skates on him. Like, I don't know what the ice did to him, but that's what he was. My parents signed him up for hockey at a young age because he needed it. Eric proved an incredible hockey player. He was made for contact sports. In addition to hockey, Eric was an incredible snowboarder. Being my older brother, he was my idol. I followed in his footsteps and began snowboarding as a young teenager, but I never possessed the skill that he had. Eric was a cold weather creature. When I got to see him snowboard or ice skate or play hockey, that was when he was truly in his element. Eric was vastly creative. He had an artistic eye that I admired. He was imaginative and inquisitive, and that added to the complexity of all the projects he worked on. Eric was a warrior more than anything else. He was a big, strong warrior. We talked about yesterday about how he was born in the wrong era. He should have been a Viking or a gladiator or a knight, and he joked about how he wanted a Viking funeral more than once. His physical strength as well as his size and his presence were truly something to behold. Beyond that, he was fearless. That's the word for him. Like, he was up for any experience, and I never saw an ounce of fear in him. Eric was incredibly loved, which you all can see, by his friends, by his family, and by his girlfriend, Alyssa. I find solace in the fact that for as lazy as Eric was, he packed so many experiences into his 34 years. Eric loved life, and he made the most of it. He was an incredibly loving man who gave and received love very freely. Eric loved to make people laugh. And as you all mourn him, I ask you to please remember his humor and to laugh when you remember something funny that he said or that he did. I'd like you to share your memories of him, and I'd like you to smile whenever you can, because that's what he did, and that's what he would want. And several people requested that I tell this story, so I will. Eric and I went to Europe for 2 weeks together with our friend Rosa. And we traveled between 3 different cities, and we were getting up in the morning to leave Barcelona and go back to Paris, because that's where our flight was leaving from to go home. And I apologize for the language that I'm going to use, but I'm just straight quoting. I go to wake him up in the morning, and it's really early, and Eric was not a morning person, and I shake him, and I'm like, Eric, it's time to get up. We have a train to catch. And he looks at me and he says, fuck off. So that's what I did. So Rosa and I grabbed our stuff, and we grabbed our tickets, and we left. Because that's what he told me to do. So later on, I get to Paris, and I get on Wi-Fi, and I call my mom. And she's like, hey, honey, where are you? And I'm like, well, Rosa and I are in Paris. And she's like, oh, yeah? Where's Eric? And I'm like, well, Eric's in Barcelona. And she's like, honey, why is he in Barcelona? And I'm like, well, and I told her what he said, and I told her what he did. We had tried more than once to wake him up. This was not the first attempt. And my mom said, honey, you did the right thing. And my dad in the background goes, tell her she did the right thing. And Eric was fine. And I wasn't worried about him, and my parents weren't worried about him, because he was capable. He could take care of himself. And sure enough, a couple hours later, he texts me, and he's like, hey, I'm in Paris. Where are you guys? And I'm like, I'll just find you tomorrow. I need a break, But I think that's the best example I can give for, who he was. He was, you couldn't faze him, you could leave him in a different country and it wouldn't faze him. So yeah, that's all I got.
I finally would like to call on his best buddy, his best friend, Joe Jarecki.
I had to write this down. Eric Leiser is my best friend. And looking out at all of you who loved him and cherished him and made him a part of your lives, it is a distinction I am even more proud of as we gather here today. I kept trying to think of what I wanted to say about my friend. And after a lot of thought, I thought the best way I could tell you about him was to talk about the relationship that we shared for the better part of 20 years. We met when we were 15 in health class, our freshman year of high school at Cleveland Heights. During our very first encounter, he proudly told me his favorite things to do were play magic and Dungeons and Dragons. At which point I thought to myself, well, I guess we won't be hanging out much. Thus beginning the most significant friendship of my life. We would join stage crew together, which for both of us would be among the most fruitful parts of our lives. We took video and photography together where we started making movies. He actually introduced me to my very first girlfriend, and I was there when he broke up with his first girlfriend, where he let me see one of the rarest things of all for him, his tears. Something I've only seen 2 times since that day, and in a weird way, always let me know how much I meant to him, because I was who he went to when he had to cry. After we graduated high school, which he happily did by the skin of his teeth, we went to college together, where we inexplicably joined a fraternity in our freshman year. To those of you who knew us back then, or hell, even now, we enjoyed your confusion. We kept making movies and eventually went to film school together, which could not have been more fun. As time went on, we even got to work together professionally, which we always did with great joy and no small amount of mischief. Then a little over 2 years ago, he got to be the best man at mine and Emily's wedding. I wish I could share with you all of the moments of fun and excitement and growth and love we had together, but there's too much to say. There's too many memories, and many of them are inappropriate. What I can say is that Eric was my best friend, and was the best friend I could have possibly imagined. He made me a part of his family, and then his good fortune, so did the rest of his family. I got another mom and dad that love me, and a little sister I've enjoyed irritating since the day we met. I love you too. There was not a moment of our time together where I did not feel like he was behind me and ready to fight for me at a moment's notice. Because that's the thing about Eric. The thing that I want you to know more than anything is when you were his friend, he made it his business to protect you. He could even be surprisingly maternal, always giving sage-like advice on how to take care of a cold or a sore throat or anything else that might be wrong with you. For those of us that knew him, here's what you need to do would become a familiar phrase. Eric believed in me. He always encouraged me and let me know how talented he thought I was, and most importantly to him, how much value I possessed. He helped me to be brave. He helped me to stand up for myself. He helped me to not take myself so seriously when the chips were down. He even smacked me around when I needed it. When I was in my early 20s and desperately heartbroken again, we were in my garage. I was a sobbing puddle on the floor, inconsolable and ready to give up on everything. And my friend grabbed me by the lapels of my coat and lifted me to my feet, which is not an easy task in and of itself. And he slapped my face so hard, my ears are still ringing. And then he told me this has to stop. I do not exaggerate when I say that slap may have saved my life. The fact is, I can't remember a time when he wasn't there when I really needed him, and I wasn't there when he needed me. We were committed to each other. We loved each other. And if you knew how afraid of commitment Eric was, just try to make a plan with him more than a day in advance, and you can see how non-committal my friend would be. Indeed, when I was figuring out whether or not I was even capable of getting married myself, it was our friendship that gave me the courage to take that step, because in him, I had the knowledge of how to make a long-term relationship work. Sure, we had a lot of hard times together, but nothing was ever stronger than us. When the two of us teamed up, we were unstoppable. If nothing else, you couldn't get a word in edgewise. When I was around him, he made me feel the most comfortable. And he was pretty much the only person who could always make me laugh, no matter how low I got. Over the last year in particular, life has grown increasingly stressful for my wife and I, and he and Alyssa made it absolutely clear that their home was a place we were always welcome, and it was a place where I could come hide from the world. In fact, that was pretty much the last thing he ever said to me. It was the night before he passed, and I was leaving. He said, "You know, you're always welcome here." And that is always how he made me feel, because Eric was filled with love. He really was. All you had to do was watch him with Alyssa, and you could see how much love he had in his heart because of how much love he has for her. When I found out that he passed, all I could think was, this is the worst nightmare come to life. But it's not, because losing him is so unimaginable. I've never even considered it a possibility. He even told me that if the world ended via zombie apocalypse, he was going to come save me. Weirdly, he told me that a lot. But I guess it was something we talked about a lot. My point is, I wasn't even afraid of the end of the world because I knew he would save me. Now I am afraid of tomorrow and the day after that and every day that I have to live without him. As Alyssa said to me, but he was the one who makes everything okay. And now my friend is gone. But if there is one thing he has given me, it is the strength to live my life to its fullest like he did. Do what you love. Make every day fun. And make every day an adventure. He was my Viking. Eric, living without you is the scariest thing I can imagine. But I promise you, I will be brave and carry on without you because that is what you would have wanted. I will take care of myself, and I will live my life the best I can because I am living for both of us. I will love the people you loved most, and I will do my best to be there for them. I will carry you with me every day, and that is how you will live. In my heart, and in the hearts of everyone who loves you. That is my promise to you, brother. I love you, buddy.
As you are able, I invite you to rise for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, shochen במרומים. עומסי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מסעירים. את נשמת אליהו מרדכי בן מרים במושך הכהן, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תמנוחתו. אנא ברחמים אסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בתרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar Amen. O merciful God, who dwells on high, who is full of compassion, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament. To our dear departed, Eric Martin Leiser, who will be remembered by the Hebrew name of Eliyahu Mordechai ben Miriam v'Moshe HaKohen. To Eric, who has now gone to his eternal home, may his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and grant that his memory inspire all of us to noble and consecrated living. And to this we say, Amen. Please be seated. Just two brief announcements. Anyone wishing to make a contribution in memory of Eric, the family has suggested that you might consider the American Heart Association, or of course a charity of your choice. And the family will receive friends at the residence of Maurice and Meg Leiser on Fairmount Boulevard in Beechwood. The address is 26106. That's 26106 Fairmount Boulevard. Visitation will begin immediately following interment at the Mount Sinai Cemetery and will continue until 8 p.m. this evening. Visitors will also be received at the house tomorrow, Thursday, from 2 to 4, and again from 7 to 9. On Saturday evening from 7 to 9, and Sunday from 4 until 7:30. On behalf of the entire family, I know they want to express their thanks and their love to all of you for being here on this very sad but important day.